Hello. Okay, lovers and friends. Soul Tribe. Thank you so much for joining me. We just take a deep breath and stay centered. This is so exciting. So now we're on a stage of we're converting our ideas into a project now. Yay! So the first thing, now that you have your list, in the first video you created a list of all the things you needed. You scratched out maybe what was, not going to matter in 5 years. You selected what was going to keep you up 2 hours early, or you would be willing to make 2 hours space for, and you thought about what was somebody else's priority and not yours. You also cleared a whole bunch of stuff. You cleared a bunch of stuff out of there that was not going to be that one thing that you could see yourself celebrating in the next year with a loved one. All right, just had to pause for a second and get some more water. And you selected, what kind of was maybe getting in the way. You were able to identify, maybe you were talking to yourself some kind of crazy in the second video. You were filling your own nonsense in your own head with head trash. You were really competing against things that were there and sometimes not. Sometimes figments of your imagination or competition. And you learned to create boundaries on what you needed to have moving forward, what would really benefit you and your project and allow for you to really thrive. That was a lot of work. That was just 2 videos. So so here I'm at another video. Yay! Now that you have selected your idea and you placed a date on it, we're going to move forward and convert your idea into a project. Hey, this is so exciting. So I'm not sure if you have done all 5 or you have just one, but the method is going to be the same, whether you're working on this project and wanting just one to be clearly defined, or if you're just ready to just work on all of them, just throw them all on the board. Now we're going to convert your idea to a goal. Now, SMART is the best way to really measure how well you're moving forward, because it's not really fun to get stuck with a goal. I think in the previous video, which I may even take down because after running into this book, it just I felt that maybe some things are now just a bit antiquated. Oh, I love that, by the way. So a SMART goal is something that is 2 formulations. So the first is, a book. Let's just consider these 2 goals. Book. Let's just say you put that as your next project. And then the other goal, instead of just saying book, is the next thing you wrote is complete a book on the history of cappuccino by the end of 2019. That really helps to really clarify what you're doing, how often it needs to happen, an end date, what the topic is about. It really just helped clear a lot of things. So saving for retirement is a likely goal, but it doesn't exactly provide you with the tools that you need to prioritize or implement or track your progress toward any of this. So SMART is the way to go. Okay, so let me tell you. SMART is simple, it's meaningful, it's actionable, it's realistic, and it's trackable. Simple doesn't necessarily mean easy, but it's a simply stated goal that you don't have to think about or try to wonder about, what did I mean? Again, we're using the book example, book or complete a book about cappuccino, on the history of cappuccino by the end of 2019. You know exactly what you're doing, you know what the topic is. You don't have to stress. So it helps you, so it doesn't tend to lose its own meaning over time. So when you set a complicated goal for the future, it's going to be difficult. So we'll see. That's how you can keep it simple. I'm doing this by this date. A goal is meaningful now. This is the first thing. Just look and just assess. This project that you have, is it smart? Is it simple? This is the first question. And then the next one is it meaningful? Meaning, can you look at it and understand, oh, okay, that's why it's meaningful. It's the importance of completing it. When you understand the importance, you'll be successful with the ideas that help you, so it doesn't seem to disconnect and go to somewhere else. So Charlie mentions that while doing enjoyable work creates pleasure, doing meaningful work creates fulfillment. There's no reason why meaningful work can't also be enjoyable. So this is important. Like, if it's meaningful, then you want to do it. In the first video, we talked about if there's any sort of emotional charge, any sort of fuel to that fire, you would be able to have that in your measurable and meaningful goal. So the next is action. SMS stands for SMART, simple. in the SMART acronym, stands for simple. A stands for actionable. M stands for meaningful. So a goal is actionable when it's immediately clear what action you have to take to accomplish that. So good. So making an actionable goal uses verbs. Not just chapter 1, say write chapter 1. That's an actionable goal. So look again at your list now that we're halfway through the SMART acronym, and ask yourself these questions. Just, is it actionable? How can I make it actionable? How can I make it meaningful? What meaning does it hold for me? And how can I make it simple? Next, R. Let's look at the realistic aspect of it. It's going to be realistic, your goal. It's when the endpoint is achievable with the resources you have available. For example, National Novel Writing Month is still happening for the next 6 days, and that's very clear. Write, start, and complete an entire novel of 1 to 50,000 words by the end of May. By May 30th, have 50,000 words. I'm secretly at 40 something. I still got time. I'm doing so good on it. So you can't change reality overnight, but because the way you don't have to do everything all at once, but you can kind of change the fact that, like, you don't have to deny how things are. You can just place the elements, and if you plan to overcome these, if it's genuinely a want in your heart, it's better to be the dragon you already know is there than pretend that it's not and then choose to be surprised by it. So by identifying drag points, okay, hey, I might drag because once I make my monthly calendar, I see that, hey, it's my birthday this month, so I might be dragging on my actual birthday or the day after because I was just loving it, and the day before because I was just feeling myself, or maybe a holiday, or I have a conference coming up, and for the next 3 days, I know it's not really realistic to do something like that when I have something else upcoming. So it's really like making sure that realistic and trackable goals are often heavily interrelated, especially if you track your goals based on time. An unrealistic goal can often be made realistic and doable by changing your expectation of how long you think it should take. This man is like, I'm telling you, it's doing something for me. It just like melted my heart like butter. So knowing that, like, hey, maybe you might want to double the time that you're saying that you want to complete this. Some things genuinely have a deadline. For example, National Novel Writing Month is no joke, and Inktober was no joke. You clearly had a time. October 1st to the 31st, there's 31 prompts. Update as often as you want, but make sure you have done all of these prompts and continue to draw. It was amazing. Make comics, keep drawing. It was great. So the last one is trackable. A trackable goal is when it's quantitatively clear what progress means. So the T uses the fact that it's time specific. You can kind of leave it open because some things aren't exactly like time frameworks. For example, maybe being a better friend is your goal. And you can't be a better friend by June 1st. I mean, you can, but like that's not really meaningful and that's not really simple. It could be kind of a broad goal in which you're like checking every single one of yourself and asking everyone, hey, how can I be a better friend? And like, you can do other things like use mindfulness or intuition or, just kind of relax in how that goes. So, this is how you can do it. Now, let's do this together. So, this is time. Everybody get your notebooks out. And if you need to pause this video to get it, that can happen. I'm going to go through 4 steps of how you can make your SMART goal, step by step. So going from a practical point of view is usually the simplest way to convert your idea. So the first thing is you want to verb it. So publish a book, then you're going to be like, state a goal, like publish a book. And state a goal with a verb that captures what finishing it looks like. So be very clear what finishing it looks like. Complete a book means what? Write the book and send it to an editor, and that feels like it's out of your hands. Print, publish. So be clear about that. Verb your goal. Number 2 is time it. Think about what seems to be a reasonable amount of time to complete the goal and then double that time. Why? Because you have to estimate that sometimes you really do underestimate the value of how any other projects can come up and take priority at any given time. So we're remembering that everything in life is a project. So getting something to eat one day, or having a conference, or going over for campus meetings. These are all things that kind of come up. So just doubling their time helps you set a more realistic goal for when this can happen and allow for any sort of thing to happen again, or come up or against it or with it, with the life of this project. And the third is check it against reality. Sometimes we think you'll be able to do it faster than you said you doubled it, but again, you're doing this along with other projects. All right, are you ready for number 4? Reread the goal to see if it is still simple. Phrasing it like completion, use the verb, idea, by a said date. So when you do that, that's really, really good. You can then use your mental and creative horsepower to figure out how you can do the work, not what the work is. Make it really clear for yourself so every day when you wake up, you have a reason. And why are we doing this? you'll have a default that accelerates your ability to convert ideas and goals if you push them to the finish line. So just keep pushing. And you'll be able to better review all of these goals in a similar format if you see how it relates. So too many goals, if they have to be completed at the same time, you'll be able to see that maybe you can avoid the pressure cooker of so many like projects coming up at once. For example, finals week. For example, did the day before you're flying out to attend a conference, then you find out that you have another business meeting coming up, and that's just a lot, or you're grading papers. So things can come up, and you'll be better able to communicate with other people what your goals are, because it will be easy to decode and discuss. So take some time, at least do this for at least an hour, and sit down and really think about how you can word it and what your timing is, and double it. And then we'll move forward to the 3 levels of success. Okay, so there's 3 levels of success outlined in this book. That there's a small success, a moderate success, and epic success. Smaller successes are just kind of like things that you're not super proud about it. This is what is stated, but it's something that you can still celebrate. For example, passing a test. Maybe you just needed to get a C and that happened, and cool. That's great. That's your small success. And when you're considering, and I'm only telling you this because it helps you align your expectations and resources with all of the goals that you're creating. So when you have a moderate success, it exceeds your minimum requirements, but you're not exactly shouting on the rooftops. But it's just your own effort. It's like resources, advantages, and like, oh my gosh, I did it. That is so awesome. And now epic success, usually this exceeds your minimum requirements. It requires like the work of an entire team. This is something that you are proud of. You have like an entourage that has helped you. So this is important, that when you're assessing what your goals are, it helps you to understand what you want to be doing a year or two. Now, it's important to note that the higher level of the success you'll have, the more you'll need to do to achieve it. So if you don't have a date on this, then it's not going to be finished. I find really do want success for a lot of people. This has absolutely revolutionized how I've been assisting other people, and it's just been, yes, a very important book in my list. So if you like the project, then just go ahead and just put a ring on it, put a ring on that thing, and that's it. So up until now, we have discussed how to create a goal. Now we're going to discuss how to have people on your team. How do you, reach out for an entourage? Ooh, so excited.